All relationships, family, friends, significant others, all relationships take work. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Wednesday's Coffee and Conversation. Well, welcome back to another Wednesday Coffee and Conversation, a time we set aside to reflect on Sunday's teaching and to ask some questions, to discuss some questions, reflect on them in order to put that teaching into practice in our everyday lives. This past Sunday was Valentine's Day, and so Pastor Warner preached a message all about our relationships. Not just romantic love relationships, but family and friends, all of our relationships. Specifically, it was about the barriers, relational barriers that keep us from growing closer to one another, that keep us from growing in our relationships. And so this message, Relationships, also talked about how to then overcome those barriers, how to work past them and move to a place where we can again grow in our relationships and strengthen our connections with one another. As I said, relationships take work, and that's not any less true now that we can't actually see a lot of our friends and family in person. And so it takes intentionality. And so it's a great message for us to think about and to reflect on in order to actually put it into practice in our everyday lives. So here are 3 questions just to help us think about the message in terms of our own lives and in our own relationships. Question number 1. Which barrier has undermined your relationships? Which barrier has undermined a relationship for you or many of your relationships? So on Sunday, Pastor Warner shared 5 barriers that prevent us from growing in our relationships. Number 1 was unrealistic expectations. Number 2, not overcoming differences. 3, unmet needs. 4, unresolved anger. And finally, 5, criticism. Which one of those barriers is one that prevents you from growing in your relationships and strengthening your connections with other people? Spend some time discussing it. Now, if you're in a group, if you're talking with your family and your friends through these questions, don't answer for other people. Let them open up and create a safe place for you to all share. That's question number 1. Question number 2 in response to that is, which method for overcoming relational barriers was most meaningful for you? So on the flip side of the barriers, Pastor Warner shared 5 ways to overcome relational barriers. They were establish priorities, engage in pursuit, employ unselfish humility, extend unreserved grace, and exposit commitment. These were 5 methods to overcome those relational barriers. So which one of these 5 stuck out to you? Which one of them was most meaningful to you in your situations and the barriers that you face in your relationships? That's question number 2. And finally, question number 3. What helps you reduce egocentric attitudes? One of the biggest things that can help our relationships is when we start to put the other person first, when we start to see things from their point of view, from their perspective, and not just from our own sense of value and perspective and what we think is right and wrong in our relationships. So what is it that helps create the space for other attitudes to come in? What helps us move away from being so egocentric in our thinking, in our attitudes, in our perspectives, to thinking of others and to opening up ourselves to others? That's question number 3. So take some time to discuss, reflect through these questions, connect with one another, pray and encourage one another. We're not alone in this, we're in it together.